On this episode of Cosmic Cantina, we get an update on Matt's dark entity. Then, we do a deep dive into ideas on the apocalypse and Atlantis, followed by a top 10 list of the most failed predictions of the end of times. I'm your host, Melissa Tittle, and every week I go to my favorite bar, Cosmic Cantina, and kick back with my co-hosts, Josh Golembeski and Matt O'Connor. We talk about aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, ancient cultures, and anything from the unseen world that needs a little illumination. All right, welcome to Cosmic Cantina. I'm your host, Melissa Tittle, and tonight we are still drinking Tantera Vineyards Pinot Noir because it's amazing, and they love us, and they wanted to give us some wine, so we are drinking it.
Hell yeah.
Good for you guys. I'm still on my sobriety kick. So I'm drinking some ginger beer from my hometown in Queensland, Australia. Bundaberg ginger beer. Shout out to those guys.
Woo!
So deliciously gingery.
Nice.
Speaking of your sobriety and cleaning out your entity, we have an entity update. As we have this ongoing process with Matt, trying to figure out what's going on with Matt's entity.
It's not getting better.
It's not getting any better. Well,
he's got a creeper.
I wanted to update people on some really craziness, the craziness that's happened. Okay, so I was sleeping, and I had this dream that Matt was trying to wake me up, like in my head. And I finally got up, and I went into my meditation room, and I just was sitting there, and I started to kind of clear myself a little bit.
Wait, now, was I panicked? Was I, say, wake up, wake up?
Yeah, you were, panicky. It was almost as if you were poking my head, like waking me up. And I was like, oh, this is weird.
Interesting.
And so in my meditation room, I have a tiny, there's not a lot of light in there. And I was meditating, and I felt the presence of something. And when I kind of opened my eyes in my meditation room in the corner was this dark figure with a hat, like a shadow.
The Hat Man.
The Hat Man.
Yeah.
The Hat Man. I know. It freaked me out. So I closed my eyes, and I did a bunch of clearing, okay, I can't help you. You need to go to the light, but the entity did not leave. It was there for quite some time. Even when I closed my eyes, I could feel it.
Ugh.
And it was so icky. And it took a while for me to tell this story, but I finally told you guys.
Yeah.
And then Matt had a similar experience.
I did. So I was at a function at a bar and randomly ran into this person, and she was super nice, but I guess she had some sort of psychic ability, and she did some sort of energy clearing and stuff. But she was able to come over, and she's like, "Oh man, I'm reading all this stuff from you," and there's I think she described me as glass, something she
glass
saw.
man.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but she said you're a conduit for this stuff or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. And then she talked about there being there's a darkness, and it's kind of it kind of attaches, and it's using your conduit energy for something. And she was like, I don't know, you need to get that cleared or whatever. But anyway, so she contacted me the next day, and she had a similar experience where she had also a dark entity and experienced some crazy shit that she never experienced before after reading my energy, and she said it was connected to me somehow.
And did it have a hat?
No, I don't think she described what it looked like. She was just it was the most crazy thing. She felt I can't even remember the right words, but anyway, it reminded me of exactly what you said, and I was like, oh, I should probably do something about that. It seems important.
So anyway, this entity thing is real, and it knows that we know about it. So it's making itself known.
So is it a ticking time bomb now?
Right. So we are investing in getting this cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get Matt's entity cleared.
We will keep you updated and see what happens.
Yeah, the Hat Man. The stories of the Hat Man always happens at your bed. It's always a bedtime thing. It's always at the corner of your bed.
I've never even heard of that until I told you guys that story.
There's a whole
culture
it's like a huge
thing.
About the Hat
shadow
Man,
person.
Oh, gives me the
it's creepy
goosebumps.
Yeah, I haven't seen him yet, or her, or whatever it is yet, but every time I get up in the middle of the night, I'm scared.
All right.
And I think of you guys and not a positive light.
I mean, if you want to see it, I could probably sort of direct
Matt,
it your way.
you're really freaking us all out.
Let's not do that.
Don't fucking do
I don't
that.
know Hat Man in my room. Damn, what's he doing in there with his big old English hat? It's weird.
Because I remember when you first told us it was about, like, you said it was like a cowboy, and I was like, oh, that man. Because you said he was wearing
Sounds
a hat.
fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, less fun than a cowboy.
Yeehaw!
Anyway.
Just
So,
finished it.
we'll
Okay.
keep you posted.
All right. Well, now that we're gonna let you know what happens with the entity, but we are gonna talk about the fear of apocalypse. Constant fear we have. The end of the world. The end of days. Yeah. All right. So we went from like super negative to possibly about the same frequency.
Well, I mean,
The apocalypse is a lot of fun. I don't know. I love watching movies and stuff about the apocalypse. It's definitely like a fun
things
factor to
falling
it.
apart.
Yeah.
apocalypse
All right.
like doesn't actually mean the end of the world. We just kind of gave it that connotation.
Oh,
It means like
please tell us what it means.
it means revelation.
Ooh, like an awakening.
Yeah, like an
Revelations
unveiling,
in
an
the Bible.
unfolding of things not previously known. Yeah, so it's like it doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to burn down and we're all going to die. It means like a huge upheaval, a change of something being brought to light.
So like a
It's
death
not a
and a
negative
rebirth
thing. Yeah,
type of thing.
yeah.
All right. Well, so there's so many articles out there. I don't need to pick one, but they all have this kind of theme of like, is this the end of Western civilization? Are we on the brink of collapse with climate change, inequality? People don't have enough to eat. The water's running out. We're all going to die. There's a meteorite going to hit us, and everything's going to end. The reason I think that this is something important to talk about is that this is a fear that not only every generation seems to have, but every civilization has had. Ancient civilizations talk about this. The ancient Egyptians talk about the culture being wiped out at some point. So where does that come from? Right? Like the idea that is it, some scientists are looking into genetic behavior. So, for instance, you could have a great-great-grandfather that's scared of snakes, and you have on your genetic code a trigger for snakes, even though you've never had an instance with snakes.
Yeah.
And then those get passed down. So it seems like everyone on this planet has a trigger for the idea of the apocalypse, the end. Everything's going to total destruct, so we have to either prepare for it or fight for it or destroy it before it destroys us.
So you're saying that fear emanates from genetics and past events.
That's one conclusion that some people have come up with, some scientific studies, which I think is really interesting. Mm-hmm. And of course, then there's the other scientific studies of epigenetics where you can change your own genes by understanding what your triggers are and being able to reverse them. So then when you have kids, they won't even have the same fears that have been passed down from, who knows, you're very the first ancestor, if you will.
That is interesting. We talked about on a previous episode how, about reincarnation and stuff, and how people, young kids a lot of the time, brought into this world and they have memories of past lives and stuff. So yeah, that does make sense.
So is there like a single catastrophe or apocalypse or scenario that's echoing throughout time? Is there an event that all of us are tied to?
Oh man,
is it civilization by civilization have fallen apart? Is it like a localized thing? If you're if you were living in a part of the world today and it like collapsed and everyone died, would you have that fear and that would, you know what I mean? Or
I just tried to look up a list of all the different predictions that have been made throughout history, and there's thousands upon thousands of them. It's just crazy.
Really?
So many. And
That's crazy, though.
Yeah,
it's like we're all on this planet to predict our own death, right? I mean, we're all going to die, but the idea of like it could be really bad versus I might just fall asleep and never wake up.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be that. It could be related to genetics, but one thing I find, and this is my own personal life, that I'm less concerned with that today than I was in my 20s and my early 30s when I wasn't as financially secure or emotionally secure or I had a good support.
Oh, yeah.
So like now it's still back there. I still every once in a while I'm like, I got to get some protein bars in the basement or fresh water. Who knows what's going to happen? Going to buy property in Colorado in case California goes off the cliff, I still have those thoughts, but I swear to God, like 10 years ago and I have a dime in the bank and I was just like, I obsessed about it. You know why I think too? Because I would like think, oh my God, how am I going to get out of here? I contact my dad. What are we going to do in the greenhouse? I'm moving back home. We're going to get guns. We're going to defend the road. It's going to be like a real awesome, like, what's that movie?
Sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be
Walking Dead scenario.
Right, yeah.
Look, I'm with
you.
I welcome the cold hand of death. No.
Well, that's because you have an entity.
Yeah.
But
goddamn hat man, get the fuck out of here.
But that kind of went away once I was more insecure. So it was almost like if your life isn't going well, it's easier to be like, oh, I can't even handle my bills and the 9 problems I have. I might as well just like pretend it's all ending because nothing else matters. So who cares? It's like kind of like a place you go when things aren't right for you.
Right. Well, I think when things are right for you, it's just something you forget about until something happens that triggers you. Right.
Sure.
So, for instance, if a big earthquake happened, like no one in LA is thinking about an earthquake, even though there's like little rumblings that happen all the time.
Yeah.
And you feel it. And you're like, ooh, okay, it's over. Who cares? I got to go back
to
all my stuff I have to do. But if it was to happen, that would trigger the idea of the apocalypse and, not just the safety for that one moment, but then they would be like, oh, I should have one of those oh shit bags in my car.
Yeah.
Or I should have water in the basement or, whatever. There's no basements in LA, but.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
But, but it's like because you don't need to worry about it, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. Right. So it's just like an event that triggers you. It could be like an event like you lose your job and then all of a sudden the world's falling apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It triggers
so
something
it's
in
just a
your
trigger.
next.
So, I mean, as far as like
totally.
events that could cause it, scientists have, talked about the sun, like billions of years into the future, the sun dying or exploding or whatever.
Right.
And they know that something like that probably will happen. But, it's not going to happen to me, so.
Right.
Right.
But,
It's not going to happen to Matt.
Yeah. So everyone's okay. No, but, and there's also the big supervolcano that's in Yellowstone.
Right.
That would be a civilization-ending
That's devastating
thing if that
for
ever
most
went
of the
off,
United States.
So there's things like that could legitimately happen. But a lot of the predictions is like an alien invasion where they wipe out the whole of humanity or,
Right.
biological zombies coming through.
I love
whatever.
zombie. Dude, when I obsess about the end of days, I picture myself in my house with the bottom floor boarded up, all of us in the upstairs with guns and food, and like in the countryside, just picking off people as they come by.
Yeah.
Zombies.
Haven't
picking off
showered
them.
in months.
Yeah, just bearded. Like the whole family there.
Just
I
grizzly as
kind of
fuck.
like it. It's almost life's easier that way. It is, and this
This is what
complex
I'm talking
bullshit.
about. Like I have those thoughts too. Like maybe not exactly your thoughts, but I do think I should get a piece
should
of
hope
land
not.
and it's going to have water on it because we need fresh water because I'm not going to fight for my own water because I'm going to have my own water supply.
Yeah.
And like I think about all that stuff. Like
Or
I
even
need
like
to have something that can run on solar power because we're not going to have any power.
Right. You gotta go off grid.
I was just going to
Solar flare's
say,
gonna
what
hit the
about like
Earth and we're
a
done.
solar flare that causes like an EMP to just shut off electricity across the
And
entire
that
planet? That would be.
You got to get that stuff in place, right? So I think about that, but my life isn't bad, right? I just like have these moments, like these triggers of like, oh shit, I should get a fresh water supply.
Yeah.
Like what?
Right.
What's happening?
It happens every once in a while. I get it in my head. Last year, I bought a bunch of water and protein bars for no reason. My wife called me crazy. Oh, I bought iodine in case there was like a nuclear attack.
Oh,
I
that's
have
smart.
iodine in my house now. Just
That's
like
because you're
yeah.
watching that one series,
Oh, Chernobyl?
Chernobyl.
Oh, I
Yes.
did. Yeah.
Oh.
Because you're watching Chernobyl.
That's right.
Yeah.
I told you that like a while back. I was
The
like, oh
only
my
people
god.
survived are the ones who were taking iodine drops.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I have a bunch of pills.
I'm
in
going
the
to go
basement.
home and get
You
some
can't
iodine.
overdo it because the thing with what floors me about that is that iodine can really hurt you. Like if
Yeah.
you just take it. I don't know. I guess if you're not around nuclear stuff, I mean, I don't know how people survive taking iodine at all. It's like, I mean, it's not. You have to like really be careful with.
Oh
the dose.
yeah, that's what it says on the back of the bottle. You gotta be real, especially with the kid. I have
Yeah.
2 kids too. I don't know what I'm gonna give them in the end of days.
I mean, if it's a choice between being irradiated and taking iodine, it's like
Iodine.
you're either somewhat fucked or you're really fucked.
right.
Which one do you want to be?
You're already
Right.
kind of sick, or yeah.
You
That shit
think it's
scares
the
me.
obsession with just the drama of Earth? Because if you think of the ancient Egyptians, like I said, had the kind of like, oh, there's this big flood that wiped out, there's this big catastrophe that happened that wiped out all these people, these really ancient people,
Yeah.
which we can assume was Atlantis. And we want to tell you Plato, and then Plato goes and he does this whole dramatic thing about how, these were the gods that like misused their technology and crumbled to the earth, and this big catastrophe happened. So it's like a warning for man. So it's almost like the drama of like, what is power to man? Like, can we get too much power on Earth?
And I think most
that's
ancient
such
societies.
a dramatic story. This apocalypse.
Yeah, and a lot of ancient societies and religions, they all have that flood myth too. The
Right.
flood that, basically destroyed mankind and
It's a cleansing. Back to your original
Yeah.
thought about what the apocalypse
true.
actually means.
Cleansing the earth.
It became the
yeah.
end of days, but it's a cleanse. It's changing. It's becoming something else. It's entering a new age.
Right.
It's evolving.